person.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. You look great. It's good to see your face.
I mean, I'm unshowered, uncultured. Fucking here we are.
Hey, man, 2021.
I actually haven't even had a full coffee yet, so you got me at my best and brightest.
Well, I'm working my way through my first cup here. So.
Oh, I like that cup. I'm really into like very minimal ceramic cups.
Well, this cup it's very cheap. It was given to me by the condo building that I live in as sort of you've given us your money for a year. Here's a cheap cup. When
I bought this condo, they gave us, our realtor gave us, because we own it, so there's no one to give us anything. I guess the HOA could have given us anything, but they didn't.
Right.
Our realtor gave us 2 very cheap champagne flutes.
Yeah. I feel like that's just a standard thing is you give somebody.
And like a little board that said like, welcome home. Which I feel like most like middle-aged Southern Christian women would have immediately hung on the wall forever.
Oh yeah. There's a certain personality type where that is just like crack,
Live, love, shrimp. Live, love,
that classic old saying.
Yeah. How you been, man?
I'm really, really all right. I was about to say really good, and then I changed it to all right.
Liar.
Yeah. I'm all right.
All right too.
Yeah. What I will say is things for myself personally could be much, much worse.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel very lucky. I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, you're in quite a pickle down in Los Angeles, I will say.
Oh, I'm in Washington, D.C., my friend.
You're in D.C.?
And there's quite a pickle going on here too, yeah.
When I think of Willy Joy, I think back on the time of U-Haul.
Yes, true.
You were in that circle.
I was. I was oddly living in D.C. a different time that I've lived in D.C. right when U-Haul opened. And so I was kind of part of that whole first rush.
Yeah, so that's when I think of you. And that was what, 2010, 11, 12?
Yeah, 2011 to 2012, right in there.
Yeah.
And
look
U-Haul
at me
just
knowing
just
a very
closed,
specific thing about a specific time.
But man, I mean,
it's
end of an era now because U-Haul just shut down.
It's a bummer.
After 10 years.
I don't know. I kind of think, and I'm not an optimistic guy, but I feel optimistic that post-COVID, the first bastion of defense is going to be club culture again. Because we'll have to.
Say more about that. What do you mean?
I feel like when all is said and done, as far as, people are getting immunized, I feel like the first things that are going to happen will not be these very unsafe massives, not like unsafe in terms of human life, because apparently, people with money don't care about human life.
Nah.
But my whole thing is it's unsafe to bet big money on a show if you don't know if people will morally think it's right to turn up.
Yes, that's true.
But more insulated club nights will be the safest business route for promoters because you can insulate it with bar sales.
Right. Yeah.
Which is how all shows used to be.
That's true. And I think for the smaller venues, you're probably right that it's not going to be so much of a worry, at least in the first few months back. I mean, clubs are going to be full. Like, of course, they're going to be full.
Yeah, of course, they're still full.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother issue. But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're still full now because there's very few of them open. And the ones that are, of course, all the people who aren't too worried about this shit are flocking there.
Yeah. I wonder what kind of music they're listening. Oh, well, I know what kind of music they're listening to. I know who's playing the music.
Yeah, you got into some Twitter scraps there.
I didn't, though.
No, I know. I knew exactly what you were trying to say.
The thing is,
I think people took it wrong.
I think they took it right. I think I played it off like I was less angry than I was.
Yeah.
Because I had to. But the truth is, I didn't get into any scraps because when you call people out for taking COVID shows, they don't respond.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too.
So I don't really feel like I don't feel like I was even being a dick. I was just like, hey. So for context,
Right.
people are still taking shows in COVID. Peers of mine that a lot of them I don't even know very well.
In
but I
states
disapprove.
like Florida and Texas, where clubs are just fully back open.
Yeah, they're just totally open. They say there's like temperature checks, but as we all know, the number one source of spread is asymptomatic spread of COVID-19. So that's bullshit. And denying that is akin to basically jumping in a pool and saying I'm walking on water. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So basically, I retweeted a specific flyer that I saw because I had really not seen that many. So a couple of people have sent me some now, and I'm like, wow. But at the time, I was like, oh, this is an anomaly. This is bad. And then everybody was like, what about so-and-so? And I'm like, what about so-and-so? And then they'll send me the flyer, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to make some calls. Like, this isn't cool. It's not cool. It's not. Well, because I think the reason it affects me so much, and as I imagine others, anyone who loves live music, I expect, is that one of these events can have repercussions that literally kill your fans. And not just literally killing your fans, but if you want to get on this whole like remove morality from the equation, it's going to further delay the return of live music.
See, that's my whole thing about it too, is the health and safety thing. I think to me and to you, that's obvious. But to some people, maybe to some people it's not. There are people out there who have crazy ideas about what this pandemic is. And sometimes there's no talking to those people. But to me, something everyone can understand is that for every one of these COVID shows that happens, that's delaying 100 more shows by months and months. It's, every time one of those happens. Sorry, that was
pretty
great.
sure I had coffee on my nose. If you were seeing that, I'm pretty sure I had like dried coffee right here.
Hey, it happens, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This cup I'm drinking of is a to-go cup, as you can see.
Right.
Because at 7 a.m, my son demanded to be put into a car and taken to his grandmother's house.
Oh, okay.
And so
He's old enough to make demands?
He makes demands. Yes. He's
How
2.
old is? Wow. Okay.
He's 2. Yeah.
Man.
He makes demands.
Mm-hmm. He's 2.
Sweetie.
Yeah. There's plenty of demands.
Basically, grandma's house has become the only way that daddy gets any work done.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So you just like drop him off there and
because we all work. So it's like, because I've got like music to write, and then like Tasha makes games. So she's over here working like constantly the whole pandemic. And meanwhile, I'm like in my head, just like, should I take a week off, man? Existential crisis. And she's like, I got to go to work.
Yeah. It's a fairly similar situation over here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then like, so I have, I basically this whole year, which has been a massive blessing of just like, because when you're a touring musician, you can absolve yourself from responsibility really easily. Yeah. It's a great and childish wonder.
Yeah. It's basically just like, oh, sorry, nothing I can do.
Sorry, people overwork me and now I'm useless.
Yeah.
I'm a circus clown. Look at me. Yeah. And when touring disappears, real life bites you in the ass real quick, and you go, oh my God, what happens if I don't have someone like literally handling my life for me?
Right.
And you go, oh, yeah, I should probably spend this entire year parenting, which I have, and it's been great. And I'm actually going to miss that.
I was about to say, I mean, I can't remember if you and I have talked about this specifically, but I always felt like you had a somewhat conflicted relationship with touring in general.
I do. Yeah. I did. I feel like I've figured it out. But for the whole time that I was an active touring man, which was about a decade, I hated it. It wasn't so much conflicted as it was understanding my privilege and disliking it anyway.
Okay.
And that's hard.
So it was more the concept of it, not necessarily the day-to-day slog of it?
I love the concept of it.
Okay.
The concept of getting to go and live and play music for people as a job and to make not just a living, but like a good living, like that's amazing. And I've never felt like I was owed that. Like that is something that happens through circumstance and hard work.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes it just happens through circumstance. But in my case, I do like to believe I've worked hard.
Oh yeah.
And so I think I never, and of course, if I'm like really pissed off at 3 a.m. on an airplane, it can come off like I don't like that or appreciate that. But of course I do. And anyone with a rational mind would.
Yeah, of course.
But then there are some quality of life issues that I think are kind of extremely fucked up about touring. Mostly because I think a lot of fans and listeners might not know this, but the artist has very, very little power in general. The artist is actually highly exploited, much like anyone who works a 9 to 5. Our effort makes everyone else money and us money too, but less money than everyone else. And we get fucked for it all the time. So you never sleep because you have to take a bunch of shows, like a bunch of shows. So you never sleep. There is no health insurance if you are a musician. So if you have depression, which I do, that goes unchecked. And then they shove alcohol and drugs, etc., in your face every night because it's the only way you're going to get through that tour. And then you go home and wonder why everything's falling apart around you. And I don't think that that's sustainable. And I don't think that I think that the conversation around what like the whole drug, sex, and rock and roll thing needs to change because the generations have changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, I mean, the drug, sex, and rock and roll thing, man, I don't think it works anymore in the modern world.
But I don't think it ever worked.
Well, I guess you have to define what worked means. I mean, I
guess like Mick Jagger's still alive and Keith Richards. So.
Yeah, I mean, those are like genetic freak anomalies, though. But no, I mean, I guess when I say worked, I mean, it was the dominant paradigm of a touring musician for, decades. And for some people, it absolutely still is and probably will remain that way. But I think for a newer generation and as culture and society changes and progresses, I agree with you. Basically, I don't think it's sustainable anymore. It was probably. I also
don't think it's that common anymore.
Yeah, I don't know, but don't you and I still know a lot of people who still kind of operate with that?
Yeah,
ethos?
But remember, man, we are not the new blood anymore.
Oh, definitely not.
So I think all these younger cats that are cats. Look at me.
Well, what do you mean you're not the younger generation using cool words like cats?
These I was going to do another old man joke, but it's just way too old. Like a lot of the new kids are so, I don't like using this phrase because I think there's a better phrase, emotionally intelligent. Yeah. But I think the truth is emotionally like adept. That they're so good at taking care of themselves. They're so good at it. And it's because we've been talking about it. And when we were younger, nobody talked about it. It's 100%. Been a last 5 years thing, not a last 10 years thing.
Yeah,
you're
right.
And I think that is going to equip the next generation of touring musicians with this understanding that they deserve rest. They deserve to take care of their bodies and their brains. And that like, hey, maybe we should unionize and get healthcare. Like all that stuff I'm so optimistic at a time where I'm pessimistic about a lot, but I'm very optimistic about like the torches that are being carried now and by whom they're being carried.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's right, man. I mean, so you were talking about that you, for 10 years of touring, or at least
hated it.
Yeah, you hated it. How did you, but for yourself, what did you change? What did you figure out to make it work for you?
Well, when it first started, I was very young. I'm 29 now, freshly. And I was, 19, 18 when I started doing music full time and traveling for it. Like different projects, different levels of touring, and some of it I was just writing. So it's like under any circumstances, when I was younger, I would just haphazardly stumble through life. and I had no plan about like what it meant to take care of myself. I had pretty rampant unchecked depression because it just wasn't ever talked about.
Yeah.
And
were
so
you even aware of it at the time that you had it?
That's an interesting question. I think a lot of people, before they address a problem, let the problem be the reason they don't address the problem. Like, yeah, I think I was aware that I had depression, but I think back then the medicine that you could take for it had such a stigma of removing creativity that I wouldn't have gotten help.
I think that stigma still exists, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've had some conversations where people have been afraid that it would. And I think there are some cases where it can, if you're over medicated.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're on the wrong thing or if you're on too much, absolutely.
It's definitely per person, per situation. Sometimes it doesn't work. Like you have to.
But that's part of it, right? Like I feel like that's an important part of the conversation to let people know is that this is a process. You like, okay, so you might try it and it might not work at once and it might, you might feel weird after a while and you might have to try a few different things, but none of that means you shouldn't do it, you know?
Right. I mean, well, look, it's the same as like trying on clothes, right? Like if you're going to find something that is a perfect tailored fit, you're going to have to go for a few hours.
Yeah.
Like you can't just like walk into Uniqlo and be like, these fit.
Right.
And if you can, you're an asshole. I'm so mad at you.
Yeah.
I'm short, man. Got to tailor those pants. But so basically when I was younger, I feel like, and this is actually true all the way up through our last conversation, where at the time of our last conversation, I had figured out that I have depression and I don't like it. And I was right on the cusp of, so right after I spoke to you last, which was 2019.
You know what's crazy? It was, it might have been early 2019. It might have been late 2018, but I just looked yesterday. It was exactly 100 episodes of this podcast ago.
You've done 100 since then?
I've done 100 since. It's been 100 weeks since we last did this podcast.
That's too many weeks.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's oh my God. Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, because that was before my tour with Space Laces.
Yo, yeah, for sure.
He was just there.
He was just hanging out, yeah.
I forgot, yeah, because that's like when the whole thing was coming together.
Right. Yeah, you were doing a show at the Palladium that night.
That was late 2018. Yeah. I want to say. Or it was early 2019.
One of those, yeah.
Because we started touring in October 4th of 2019.
Okay, got it.
What a shit year that was. In retrospect, it's great.
I was about to say, looking back, it doesn't seem so bad compared to other recent years.
Yes, perspective is a wonderful thing. So in about 2019, right after our last conversation, last conversation led me. It actually sparked a thought in my head, which was, hey, maybe like I would actually feel better if I just never drank, like never. And I was, because I had been talking to a bunch of people about it. I was like, hey, you know, like because over that year I like tamed down my drinking, like significant to the point where I was like, well, why am I even like putting in this effort to regulate when I should just not?
Right.
And then the second I quit drinking, my depression like left for the most part. And I was like, oh yeah, because you know, those affect each other. And then I was like, well, look, if I've already like done that much, why don't I go and see a doctor about my depression? And I have, you know, panic problems as well. And I was like, well, I'll go to therapy for the panic stuff because I don't want to be on benzos because that's not good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it works for some people, but it doesn't work for me. I get foggy and I like to be sharp. I like to be a witty boy. And that's fine because I don't like being sedated, which is why I quit drinking in the first place. So I quit drinking entirely, quit nicotine entirely. Like it was like around the same time. Huh?
Were you a big smoker?
No, I was vaping.
Yeah.
I used to smoke a long time ago, but I quit that a long time ago. And
I mean, were you a big vapor?
I had become one, but I was not initially. Okay. It just, as any addiction, it got worse. So I quit that and then I quit drinking. And then it's been like almost 2 years of no drinking now, which is dope.
That's amazing.
And then, let's see. And then I went and I got on SSRIs in the middle of the pandemic because I was like, fuck this. And then now I feel like great, which is lovely. And I can feel depth of emotion like a normal person would.
Right. You get the gradient.
Yeah. Like I feel sad when I'm sad, but then I can feel my mood lift and it's like, it's less extreme drops and jumps, which is so nice, especially in a year like this where it's been so testing on your psyche, right?
Right.
Because you can go from feeling like great about an accomplishment to realizing like that you are completely isolated in like a matter of 5 minutes.
Oh man, yeah.
I can't imagine where I'd be if I had not taken those steps like preemptively. I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear you say that, man. And I was thinking about our last conversation too, because it did seem like it sort of just magically happened at this inflection point, not only in, for you in a personal way, but also career-wise.
Yeah, that was like...
I remember we were sitting in that hotel room and you were, the last part of our conversation, the last part of the podcast, I was asking you about new music and you were saying, I've been writing a bunch of new stuff. I think it's pretty cool, blah, blah, blah. And then you played some of it for me after we stopped recording. And then I went to your show that night and you opened with this new song that nobody had heard that had this weird pan flute. And you're like, yeah, this is kind of my new thing. And at the time, I just remember thinking like, this is crazy music. Like I haven't really heard anything like this.
Crazy music.
and then, but I think all of that whole thing, I think that happened like about a week before you discovered the caps lock button. And it was just like, all new, like Must Die, like caps lock button, all new music, the aesthetic all came together. The sonically it all came together. And then for the last, whatever it's been, 2 years, you've just been on a tear, man. I don't know, to go from that potential to now, do you feel like you've kind of gotten to where you want to be with this sort of creative renaissance? Do you feel like you're still exploring it? Are you still trying to push it? Like, where are you at music-wise?
Music-wise, when we last did the podcast, I was figuring out what Must Die was in the, like what it was as a modern project. And I was like, I could go full like, excision, robotic kind of heavy tear out dubstep. And then I was like, but that doesn't work for me. That's not because I will fuck that up. If I decide to do that, I will fuck that up and immediately start writing what I was going to write anyway. Because I can't make decisions with this project. It just happens. The only decision I've made is caps lock. The rest is just like,
which by the way was a great decision.
Well, I did that simply because I thought the idea of someone saying such belligerent things with the caps lock on, it was actually in my head, huge boomer energy.
I mean, yes,
because of the shit I'm saying, where I'm just like drinking blood, LOL. It sounds like something your dad would accidentally text you in all caps in the middle of the night. And you'd be like, what the fuck is dad doing? So that's what that is. And it's mostly me saying the most asinine shit I possibly can. But also, if you know me personally, I say that shit in real life.
Oh yeah, no, there's no difference. It's not like
it's like,
but what I love about it, and I mean, this is more, I guess, indicative of the year we've had, but it's that mixed with, very incisive political commentary. And, I mean, I think now we're getting into a whole different thing. I'll get back.
I won't tangent. Yeah, we'll go back to music. But
okay,
go ahead.
Yeah, no. We'll stay on music. Then we'll tangent.
Okay, because I have a lot to say.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, I can. Well, I feel like no one's given me a platform that isn't really short to actually say what I think. So I'm going to use you for my personal political career.
Man. I mean, when you said that thing about going on podcasts, I was like, fuck, because I had been meaning to have you back on.
Oh, we've been talking about this for ages.
Yeah. So no, I'm happy we're doing it, man.
That's me. I'm like, you have to like trap me in a corner, or I just like wiggle out of any responsibility this year.
Yeah, I'm
like
kind of
my
my
management keeps being like, "Hey, how's that song coming?" And I'm just like, just like go under the sink or something. I'm made of flubber.
Yeah, you're like, look over there,
look over there, haha, and I like steal their wallet,
right?
Literally. So, yeah. So musically, where we're at right now, I just did like a remix, which is kind of my remixes always come as like placeholders for me, because they're like the thing I like to do the most. So like I'll do a remix when I'm in the middle of working on a project that is not done yet. So I've got projects more than just Must Die. I've got Must Die working on like so much music, but I'm trying to figure out like which of them is going to happen. So I've got a lot of Must Die happening. I've got other projects. Like I have another like side project called Vampire Weapon. And that's going to be, I don't know what that's going to be, but it's going to be something. I just like the name. So we're going to make that a thing.
Okay. Is it you and somebody else, or it's just
it's just me.
Okay.
It's just me. But I think it'll be more, I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody about it. So
yeah, I mean, we don't have to talk too much if you're still keeping it under wraps.
No, I mean, whatever.
Well, I'm just curious, like, is it, stylistically, I assume it's different kind of music, different sounds?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
The way I've always come up with projects is I go name first.
Yeah.
And then that kind of determines what is going to happen. I think Vampire Weapon very likely will be more ravey, but like not like to be played at a modern rave, but more like the actual sound.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Maybe like bass line, or maybe like garage or D&B, or I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The stuff I've made under the moniker so far, just little clips, is like as if, I don't know. It's kind of got a burial thing going on, but without the seriousness.
Right.
Because burial, it can be a bit serious for me.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, I think your music, even the 2-year run of Must Die music that we've been talking about, you're referencing older periods and you're referencing different styles of music. But I think there's a playfulness to all of it, Well,
I mean, look, it's all fun. Like, I don't know. I still, Calvin Harris said this recently. I say recently, it was like 3 years ago. Recently in the length of my life, said that dance music isn't fun anymore. Like everything's so depressing. And I agree. And what's funny is I say that as a guy who like injects Neon Genesis Evangelion references into all of my music, but like, but that's playful to me.
Yeah, like, it's absolutely
depression. It's sterile. It's all sterile. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's depressing to a musician.
Well, and aggression too, right? When it's aggression with nothing else like coloring
when it's aggression for aggression's sake, as opposed to aggression with a meaning. Totally. Because like, here's a really good music reference here. There's a song that Ominous put out. Is it Ominous or Ominous? I'm pretty sure it's Ominous.
I've always said Ominous.
I feel like it looks like Ominous.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we just officially decided it's Ominous.
I'm pretty sure it's on his Twitter account how it's pronounced.
But he doesn't get a say anymore. We've decided.
Yeah, we've decided. He has this tune called Ugh, UGHHH or some shit. I can't remember. It's pronounced weird or spelled weird. And that tune is like, it is a dubstep tune. It is like basic old school, just like, the whole intro is just like dun 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 dun, and you're just like, oh yeah, this has nothing. I love it. And that tune is extremely aggressive, and something about the way it sounds is like aggression with an agenda. And the agenda was simply to be aggressive. But that's so different from other tunes where they will assign during the press phase a meaning to it. When it was created, really vapid and devoid of feeling.
That's really funny. Oh man, because you're right.
That's my thing is you cannot assign meaning to something when it is created with no meaning.
Yeah, that's so funny, man. Because people absolutely do. It's so funny. It's almost a meme at this point when
I poured my heart and soul.
Yeah, I poured my heart and soul into this, and this is the most meaningful song of my career. And it's like then you listen to it, and it's just like, Well, it just sounds like another song you wrote.
It's just this is a song.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even know the vocalist. You've never met IRL.
Yeah, never discussed the lyrics. Yeah.
Did you write it together? Yeah,
that's so funny.
Well, look, man, there's a Nashville-itis going on in dubstep.
What do you mean by that? Because I think I know what you mean, but I want you to clarify it.
Too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many cooks in the kitchen. And it's not even an insult. I don't think there's anything wrong with working with writers.
No, I don't either.
I am a musician too. Like, working with writers and being a writer is exciting work. And it's a part of the craft that is a massive skill, actually, being able to work with others. But I don't feel like this genre benefits from anything but individualism.
Yeah.
In fact, I would argue that collaborations are weaker than single songs.
I was going to say, you haven't done a lot of collaborations in the last couple of years. I was noticing that.
I never really have been into them. It's not for any reason other than I work too fast for others. And if you ask Eptic or anyone who's ever worked with me, except for maybe Habstract's the only guy that like works at my speed. Zomboy is good too. Zomboy's pretty quick. But like, I will start something to give you and then finish it before I give it to you.
Yeah, well, that'll make it hard to collaborate.
Yeah, but it's like I'm pretty known for it.
Yeah,
is like that's why, because I do like the idea of working with people, and I reach out to people, and then it just never happens because I just fucking do something else.
Right.
It's a problem. It's actually like an accountability problem with me. Like I should apologize probably. But I also try to be very like free flowing with who I do collaborate with. I care a lot more about ethos than sound when I pick a collaborator, because I don't care. Well, I mean, I do, but like if you have cool music and you're with the shit and like you're not being really phony.
Yeah.
I'll work with you. Like I will. And I think that people think that there's not a difference between like legitimacy and seriousness, but they're very different. Like you can sit there and be like resolute and serious and cryptic with your messaging and your aesthetic is dark and all that, but that doesn't make you like on the level. Some of the goofiest goddamn cheesy musicians you've ever seen are on the level.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes their music ends up having more meaning for me than the serious ones.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I would a great example is happy hardcore.
Let's talk about it, baby.
Okay. Gammer is great and he gives a fuck.
Yeah. He's amazing.
He gives a fuck, man. He gives so much of a fuck.
Oh yeah, he cares.
But then you won't hear him go online and pretend that he is like the be all, know all.
Well, and he has a sense of self-awareness that I feel I relate to him strongly because I started with happy hardcore. That was the first piece of vinyl I ever bought back in the day. Nice. And, that was like my love for years, teenage years. And
it's talking so fucking rules, man.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
So good.
But it's also so silly. Like happy hardcore is inherently silly music.
Yes.
And what I love about a guy...
it is.
Right, exactly. So what I love about a guy like Gammer is that he encompasses the whole thing. He knows absolutely that what he is doing is ridiculous and absurd, but he also fully cops to the fact that he cares so much about it.
Yes.
You know? And to me, that's all I want out of an artist.
Yeah. Yes, dude. Own your shit. Own your shit.
Yeah.
Be the dude that you are supposed to be. I love it. And I think, I love bringing up Gammer for this. And another really great example, and just the end all be all example of all things discussion, Kill the Noise.
Yep.
Kill the Noise is a fucking meme. He's a goddamn meme, and he knows he's a meme. And then you will have these conversations with him that are not like, yes, everyone wants to talk about like the terse, like grandiose conversations you can have with him. But the truth is, when you really get down to Jake, that dude loves what he does, loves what you do, and loves music in a way that eschews, there's no cheese. He doesn't believe in it.
Yeah.
And if it is cheesy to him, that's just code for bad.
Right.
Like we can all, like, if you can sit there and listen to like rave piano, big room house and appreciate it for what it is because the artist making it clearly gave a shit, that's all you need. You can enjoy anything. Undo that lens, you can enjoy anything.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, man. And I look at it very much the same way. It's even for my own music in the last few years, I've come back to sort of where I started when I was a teenager, not happy hardcore, but you know, that kind of vibe and those sounds and what made me feel emotions when I was that age.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going back to that now. I think I tried to avoid it for a while, thinking like, no, I need to like evolve and, you know, progress with everything that's going on. And it's like, no, man, you gotta stay true to what makes you feel something. That's the only way anybody else is, if you're lucky, anybody else is going to feel anything from your music, you know?
Yeah. You know, what's funny is I think, you know, so we're talking about music, the must die music stuff. I relate to that. I relate to exactly what you just said, because at the time that I showed you all the stuff I was working on, I had rediscovered that the only music that was making me feel anything were the trance records I was listening to in high school.
There you go.
And they were cheesy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like Delirium and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And like fucking Sarah McLachlan vocals on that bad boy. But like that and that stuff, I was like, in high school, I was like, this is cheesy, but I still like it felt legitimate to me, the feelings I felt.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, fuck, if that's what I'm being influenced by, because I was no longer getting the feeling that I used to get from dubstep. But like, I still like making it. I like the structure and framework of dubstep, right? But I wasn't, the meat on the drum bones was not filling my void.
Yeah.
It wasn't working for me the way that Nero tunes used to, but they were influenced by trance.
Yeah.
So let's put two and two together.
Dude, and tell me if this is a reach, but I re-listened to a little bit of our first podcast yesterday, and you said something, I kind of put you on the spot to define your music, and you sort of said, well, I think the strength of my music is the duality of it, where there's these, you know, super aggressive heavy parts, and then there's these super melodic parts. But listening to your newer music, I didn't get so, like, it felt much more merged. It didn't feel like two separate things.
Yeah, it used to be a literal duality. And now I think that statement has been rectified.
Yeah.
Now even the instrumentation and the intros it's more aggressive, but I don't know. I feel like I've found a way to condense it into one thing, because I think trance and hardcore and techno and gabber and breaks and all of these things, when done correctly, can be this one giant cohesive umbrella term. They can be this one thing, which is dance music.
Yeah.
And dance music is, if you think dance music, I think energy. I think party. I think, and not even just like party, but like, it's energy, it's dancing, it's fun, it's immense, it's got weight. You're waiting for these ebbs and flows that you don't get in a traditional pop song and all these things. And the instrumentation itself is heavy.
Yeah.
And like the feeling is heavy. So I've just been like, smash it all together, maybe stop worrying about it and stop worrying about structure as well. And just like stick it all together. Hockey arena music. Let's go.
Are you still straight off the laptop? Are you still just working off the laptop speakers?
I was all the way up until, I don't know if I've released anything that I've made strictly on PC, but I did make the transition to PC.
Okay. So did you got some monitors?
Just in these headphones. These
in the
HyperX headphones.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason is my MacBook is just too old. It just can't handle anything anymore.
Yeah.
Poor baby. It's been sitting next to my bed for like the past like 6 months.
Oh, dude, I had to retire my 2012 MacBook just last year.
Oh no.
Yeah.
They had the best speakers.
Yeah, it was real good. Although I will say I got the 2019 MacBook. The speakers are very good. I have other complaints about it, but the speakers are very good.
Well, I just heard that they announced that the new ones are going to get rid of the touch bar and shit.
Yeah, I think they realized nobody wanted that shit.
That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, essentially because of all that stuff, and because I think it was Zomboy that like really warned me against them for other reasons. I can't remember why. I think he's got bricked when he got it or something.
Oh shit!
Like on the road as well.
Damn.
Yeah. I think I was like, look, if I'm going to be sitting in front of my PC for a year while I'm home, a little longer than a year, then I may as well learn to like transition over. And like, I kind of wanted to give myself that like high school producer hobbyist feeling again by like being on my little PC like I used to be.
Right.
Like, you know, still gaming. I wanted to see what VR was all about and like get inspired by virtual space, which I used to be when I would play fucking Second Life and CSGO, or not even CSGO, CS Source. And like all that shit influenced me for so long. Like I run with inspiration. I fill up my inspiration tank and it lasts for so long. I get good miles to the gallon, man.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You actually, it's funny, you just answered the question I was about to ask you, because last time you were talking about how you had just gone back to straight laptop speakers, nothing else.
Yeah.
And you were saying that was freeing to you because that sort of put you back in that mentality of the struggle back when you were just starting, when you didn't have money to buy gear or anything else.
Yes.
And it's interesting to hear you say you figured out a new way to do that, right?
But what's funny is that it's even further back.
Right. I mean, do you feel like...
So like it went like full studio in Dallas, and then I went back to like little laptop in Atlanta. And now I'm back to like gaming computer in Mississippi in high school. Next thing you know, I'm just going to stop making music.
I was going to say, yeah.
Actually, if you want to go even further back, it's like fucking gateway computer running not even FL Studio, Fruity Loops.
I was about to say.
And me selling rap beats in bathrooms.
Nice.
In middle school.
How much would you get for a rap beat that you sold in a bathroom in middle school?
I think I would sell them for like 15 and I'd buy weed with it.
Yeah.
And like I didn't even smoke weed. So like I just wanted to, well, I would always have a panic attack every time. So I would buy it to like impress people. I'd be like, you want to come over and smoke weed? And I'd get busted, get grounded, and have a panic attack.
You were that kid, like you couldn't even get to the point of doing cool stuff.
I couldn't be cool. Yeah, I couldn't be cool. I'm still not cool.
Yes and no, though. I mean, I think
I've fully embraced my place.
Yeah, but
my place is that I make music and I make comments.
But that's what makes you cool, right? Like that's what makes anybody cool, is sort of finding out where you fit and just embracing it. It's what we were talking about with producers earlier.
I have friends. I have friends and I like them.
That sounded very defensive.
I have a driver's license, Willy. Fun fact, I started making music in parody music.
Oh, wait, me too. This is crazy. What kind of parodies did you do?
I did parodies of hip hop. I was a joke rapper.
Oh man, you were.
But I was mostly a beat maker because I like making the beats more.
Oh, interesting. So, like,
I'm actually a pretty good rapper. This is true.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I'd buy that. I'd love it. You got to send me something later.
I'm verbose enough.
You're right, exactly. Yeah. You're nerdy enough.
Yeah. Me and Eptic once made a tune that a few people have heard that is fucking hilarious.
Well, he's just straight up releasing parody music now.
I love him.
I love him so much, man.
I miss him so much, man.
I miss him too. He is one of the best producers in heavy music right now. And he's still doing very silly stuff. You know what I mean?
He's so silly, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
isn't that like what makes him him? Like,
yes.
And I'm asking you, I know you're going to agree, but that is my question I'm posing outward. Eptic is silly. He's a silly person. If you know him, he's a silly man who is deadly serious about his silliness.
Yeah.
He is the epitome of talent in my brain. I respect him. We're really close. We're like best buds, but like aside from that, I respect Michael in a way that I respect probably no one else because of his work ethic, which I can't do. I burn out.
Yeah.
He doesn't. And that's because he sets limits on himself like a smart person. And he's so visually talented to the point where he's arguably one of the better designers I know.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of great designers because this scene is full of them. And his music is consistently fresh and fun without ever deviating very far from what he started.
Right.
It's just proof that what he started is so versatile that it never gets old.
Yeah, I think that's true, man. And I mean, to pay you that compliment back, I think you're another person I would place in that, where it's just what you're doing. And especially, again, over these last 2 years where you really, honed in on this new version of the Must Die project, I can't compare it to anyone else, and I feel the same way about Eptic, like musically, aesthetically. I don't even know really what the competition would be, or who else would be in the conversation.
There are artists that kind of go for what both Eptic does and what I do, but I think that it is a case of the person being the secret ingredient.
Yeah.
I don't think, and there's other people I could say too, but just because we're talking about us, you can emulate the sound, but you cannot emulate the feeling.
That's the thing. And if you're going, I mean, what you just said, there are people going for what you guys are doing already. Right. If that's their mindset, they already lost.
And I'm glad, because
game.
Obviously I like that kind of music.
Right.
But I will say, it's just proof to me that longevity is just an opportunity to continue to figure out who you are and what you want to do. Because when I started this project, I wasn't where I am now. I wasn't mentally where I am now. I was at we all grow and change so much. So did my music. And I'm not saying that I think a lot of people suffer from put out an album and become serious syndrome.
Right.
I don't. Just look, over time, check in with yourself and see what you like. You don't have to start here and stay here because your fans want you to. Your fans will change too. And likely, if they're into the same shit you're in, you're going to have a similar trajectory.
Right.
And you'll lose fans if you stay too juvenile. Or it just depends. It depends. It's such a cosmos of little circumstances. And I think as far as emulating people, there are a few artists that I just believe cannot truly be emulated. I don't think you can emulate Abstract.
Nope.
I do not think you can emulate Trampa.
Yep.
Trampa is Trampa because Ricky is Ricky. Zomboy, for example, is someone who has grown in his own right. And now it's he's got his own little universe there. There's a few Flux Pavilion. You can't be Flux.
Sure.
No one can be Flux. Even if Flux is making whatever genre, he's Flux.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter what it sounds like. It's his perspective.
That guy is that brain and those chords, man.
Yep.
He's got something. Yeah, there's a few people. You can't do Porter Robinson.
Nah. No, people have tried, but the thing is...
They sure have.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have tried.
Flume either. Let's talk about that.
Well, yeah. I think we have exhaustively proved that you cannot do Flume at this point.
Yeah. Even if you have his literal snare.
Oh, sure. Yeah, which we all do.
Yeah, but I mean, look, and also you can't do Skrillex. So I think...
you can't do anyone is sort of my point, right?
That is the point.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, you can do some people.
Yeah, but we're not talking about those people. Like, is anybody talking about the people who it's easy to copy, you know?
Should they be?
Should we be? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No.
Yeah. But wait, I wanted to ask you, have you ever done like a must-die headline tour, like proper must-die headline? I feel like that's what I want to see for whenever shows come back.
The thing is, man, I don't have the pull. Or I've been told I don't have the pull.
Yeah. But I feel like shit has changed a little bit in the last couple of years. Do you not think so?
I think so. Other people would disagree.
Yeah.
I think so. I think the truth is that I think if I did a small venue run and really owned it and made it unique and cool and treated it like a warehouse club show.
Yes.
I could sell out a headline tour.
That's kind of how I feel. The truth is,
over this break, it's let me realize that what I really want to do is come back and do headline tours of like the MJQs of the world.
Yes, dude, you're speaking my language. I've been thinking about this so much.
Well, a great one is like Soundcheck and DC sized, you know?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Few hundred people, small, pack them in. And the reason I said that,
strobe lights, baby.
Oh my God. Yeah. And the reason I said that wasn't even to sort of gauge where you're at professionally, but more just that I feel like that would be such a cool opportunity to flesh out all this other must-die stuff that you've been building over the last couple of years.
Well, I don't really want it to be separate. I want it all to come together.
Right.
Like, for example, when I mentioned the vampire weapon thing, I literally haven't talked to anybody about that. I've just been thinking about it.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't that also be a part of Must Die? Right? Like, why can't, like, you know, because I mean, well, here's a great example. Sudden death has void, right? So void is sudden death. Sudden death is void, but they're separate, but they're the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
Mine would be similar, except there might be more than one.
Sure.
It might just all be this, like, my whole thing is that I want people to realize it's kind of like Tim and Eric, man. Like, there's so much Tim and Eric.
Right.
But it's all Tim and Eric.
Yeah, they have like 10 different shows that are all kind of
and they're all going
same.
on at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like On Cinema, At the Cinema, and like then there's the new podcast. And now Tim's running some like fake right-wing news site, which is so good.
It's so amazing. Not to mention, Andy's like releasing singer-songwriter album. The whole
thing
thing
good too.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, it's like, you know, if you're into like Simon and Garfunkel, and I guess it's more like Leon Russell type shit, but it's good.
Yeah.
I love Leon Russell.
Well, but, okay, wait, I want to connect this because
sure,
what they're doing, I think, is similar to what you're doing in another way, which is that what Tim and Eric do is unquestionably silly, right? Like they're the silliest, but they've also found a way to be political and, you know, sort of interact with the real world at the same time. And we almost tangented into this earlier, but let's go there for a second now.
Let's go.
Because that's something you're doing, is that while you're doing all of this super like just like bass boosted, all caps lock, you know, like wild, but you're also politically engaged and
soft
you're talking
tweets.
Yes. And you're talking about what's happening in the world more than most artists I see. And I don't know, man. It's just an interesting thing because to me, how you are on Twitter and as a public figure, I think whether you realize it or not, you're acting as an avatar for a lot of people who feel the same way, but are not, for whatever reason, are not voicing that as much as you are. I hope you know that, man, because just seeing you posting that kind of shit, it makes me feel better to see it on a day-to-day basis.
I didn't know that because generally the vocal minority are lunatics.
Of course.
And I discount them. The criticism of standing up for what I believe is right never hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
Now, criticism of my art hurts my feelings, but criticism of my core beliefs, unfazed. There's no way to make me feel bad about what I believe.
Right.
And that is a testament to my mother, and more importantly, to my stepfather. I was raised very much through hardcore punk, and a lot of hardcore punk and early punk in general. That feeling of specifically hardcore punk, because real punk rock was not very political when it started. The Ramones were famously helmed at the guitar by a staunch Republican.
Yeah.
And so I think people equate punk rock with politics a little too much. Hardcore punk, on the other hand, is inherently political.
Yes.
And inherently community driven. And very DIY and very like, if we don't say shit, who will? Because the truth is, who's saying shit if you don't say it? The truth is no one.
Yep.
No one's going to.
Yep.
Because a lot of people like to use the term they, but they is just we that we don't know. And I think it's important to be active in your world, in your life. If something you see is bothering you, it's very important to remember that. Think about all the things we have shaped through discourse. Like we were talking earlier about how I think the next generation of people in touring music are going to be much better equipped to take care of themselves. Why do you think that is? It wasn't that Barack Obama was up there saying, hey, touring musicians, you should get health insurance and take a rest.
Yeah.
No, it was artists.
Well, it's community, man.
Like
I mean, we
Alice
have to
in Wonderland and people like that talking about their experiences and their feelings. And I think the same thing goes for what we allow as a community, as musicians, to exist in our fans. I do not want Nazi fans.
Yeah.
I don't like money enough to enable white supremacy. I don't. And I know there are people that do. And I'm not one of them. And I don't think, I think if there has ever been a time to wear it out and say it until it annoys people, it's now.
Oh, absolutely. There can't be any question anymore, And I'm not saying that I think every artist has to speak up in the way you are, but I think every artist has to be clear,
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think,
even if it's just self-clarity, like it's...
Or just your actions.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, like how are you running your business, right?
Yes.
I think, and if you're doing something wrong, correct it. Actions speak louder than words, and that is always true. And I know that the internet likes to demand verbal accountability, and I think sometimes that's warranted, sometimes it's not. Everything is a double-edged sword, I totally get it. But I think if you need to at least be aware of the standard.
Yep.
And if
that the standard has
standard,
moved,
Yeah,
there's
different.
A new standard. Yeah.
There's a new standard. And I think giving credence to that standard is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So do the bare minimum and then you are doing it. And if you're not, then you're not, and you'll get called out. Right. And that's true. And so my whole thing is not so much that I'm political. I'm very like politics are to me the idea of like manipulation of the masses.
Sure.
Like politics are going, oh, well, we can't feel this because our base, this and this and this. What I'm seeing is human rights violations. Because here's the thing, letting Nazis walk around is terror. I'm not a person of color. I'm not someone who is directly threatened by the existence of white supremacists, seeing as I am white. And furthermore, I'm male. Like I identify as male and I'm white. So I'm pretty protected.
Yeah.
And so you have to, I think there's a distinct lack through social media of true empathy for people who do not have the same experiences as you. And I know tons of peers of mine who are directly threatened by the mere existence of white supremacists. And I can't kill people, so I do what I can.
Yeah.
and I think that when I am old, I will look back and go, well, I'll be able to look at the people I love and say, I tried for you. Like I tried to help you because I love you. And I think people that come in with whataboutism and blocking attempts to be loving and truthful and empathetic towards those who cannot stand on the pedestals of privilege like I can. I think that any effort to hinder me from just trying to do my best for people that I love is wrong. And that's when I get testy and fighty.
Fighty.
But that's true. And it's obviously like arguing on the internet is stupid. Sometimes I engage in really stupid behavior, but it's all from a place of knowing that I'm lucky and I'm safe. And what does that make me if not useful?
Yes.
It makes me a hindrance. And if I am not acting against the privilege that I am employing, then I am perpetuating white supremacy.
Well, and what's crazy, man, is that in electronic music, and especially our corner of electronic music,
right,
the majority of people are lucky and privileged. The majority of the people in the community, right? Because like our little, whatever you want to call our little corner of dance music is, very white, and it's very
super
male.
White, super male.
Yeah. And so to me, it's even more important to bring it to a community like that, the one we're in, right? Which is
the one that was started by Black gay men.
Yeah, that one. Exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing, man. So, I mean, I think it's very important to acknowledge that and to publicize that and to make sure everyone in the community understands that, right? That it is a privilege to be here. We are lucky to be here. So that's one side of it, right? Is making sure that the majority understands their position. The other side of it that I think is even harder to crack is how do we make this community, our little corner of it, how do we make it more inclusive? How do we bring more people in? Because, you look at, there's plenty of recent examples, stuff like Jersey Club and, all this where, again, it's happening over and over where Black innovators get their music taken from them and repurposed by white people. And then everything just kind of moves on.
And then shut out of the opportunities as opposed to championed. Exactly. Because it's, it becomes appropriation when it gets stolen.
Yeah, I'm not talking about anyone in specific, but I'm just saying it's a cycle that happens over and over and has happened recently, Yeah.
I mean,
like we're not past it.
Yeah, culture is not flavor. So I think that is hard. And I think that there are people a lot more knowledgeable that are affected by it, that could speak a lot more to it than I could. And I think that actually is the step to making it more inclusive, is that when we don't know the answer to a problem, we outsource to someone who knows the answer to the problem.
It's for you and me to stop
obviously,
solving it.
I know you're on that level, but I think a lot of people ask that question. What do I do? Well, the answer is reach out to someone who knows what to do.
Yeah.
Because there are activists, there are community members and innovators everywhere you look. I think reaching out to someone that, if you want to be more inclusive, look to those that are currently being excluded and ask them.
And I think it's good that you can put that as simply as you just did, because
it's hard. It's easy to get caught up in vernacular.
Yeah.
Just broaden the scope of the types of conversations you're willing to have.
It's the first step, but it's also the hardest step. Is people want to do it and everyone has good intentions until you tell them that they might be a little uncomfortable.
Or they might feel not knowledgeable. That's the hardest thing is when you, for example, if you're in a conversation, you and I are both so used to being dominant presences in conversation that when we have to sit back and not even moderate.
Yeah.
And learning on air is hard. It's scary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of content creators, people who run these like intricate, like this is my lifestyle creation. It's really hard to take yourself out of the driver's seat and sit in the passenger seat and let someone else take the aux for a bit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But I will say one thing I'm encouraged by is that you can tell there's a hunger for it, that people want it, even if they don't know how to achieve it or even what the first steps will be. And I didn't feel that hunger even a year ago, No.
I saw so much more people not people screwing up trying to do the right thing than people trying to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I saw a lot of people like attempting to be good people and fucking it up because they don't know how.
You're right.
Then I did. Well, because no one taught them.
Yeah. No, it's true.
But then I saw like not very many doing in fact, I would argue, I didn't see any artists in our circle like do the exact wrong thing. Which, and when I say wrong, I mean like as a human being, genocidal thoughts. Because I didn't see any of that shit. Yeah, but I did see a lot of fans on that tip, and I just want to say your parents did a bad job.
Yeah,
and I would argue your grandparents did a worse job.
Yeah. Oh, I'll co-sign that. The whole family tree, man.
gotta call it where it is. But we're in a place where the conversation is tip of the tongue, right? It's still tip of the tongue, and even through this presidency, and this Joe Biden presidency, that's still the tip of the tongue. And I think a lot of people are waiting with bated breath to see what Biden is going to do. It's not looking good. But because he's very, very moderate. Yeah. To the point where he may as well be what a Republican was 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. That's basically what he is. I mean, to me, it's not about him.
It's a means to an end. We got the one that could get votes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I see a lot of my friends. And a lot of my friends are a lot more like activist-y than that.
Yeah.
Like, I think the term is like anarcho-communist, but like, I don't personally subscribe to those ideals.
Yeah.
But like, I do, like, I guess democratic socialist is what I would be, but I also don't like to forever align myself to a party. Because I am an individual person with different feelings each year. I think we just need to eliminate this hateful tone. It's so hateful. And I do not think we need to unify with those who perpetuated it.
Oh, fuck no.
And it's not politics. I really do think that engaging in that sort of pure vitriol and hate towards immigrants, towards people of color, towards people fighting for justice and people just trying to like immigrate to this country because of strife. Like, isn't that like, I don't know, man. I can't do it. And women's rights.
All that shit, man.
I can't get on it. I can't get with it. And I can't hang out with people who get with it. Right. And beyond hanging out with it, I can't let you go to my grandma's dinner table, man. Like, you can't come in my fucking house.
Yeah.
And I know that is divisive, but if we don't like unify to get away from those sorts of people, then like, I don't know. I don't see much of a future for democracy.
Right. Because how does anything change then, you know?
America has to have ideals.
We've been trying to do that for decades, and it hasn't worked very well.
No, I think if we want American exceptionalism, the truth is we need to be exceptional by example, and we're not. And we all make mistakes, but collectively we need to reject all of this hatred 100%. Reject it. And by rejecting it, that means we have to eliminate the people perpetuating it. So they need to get with the program or get the fuck out.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Or get rocked by my skateboard trucks, I'll tell you that.
Well,
saying. Anyway, that's where I'm at.
Well, I hope you know, man, I wanted to say this to you too, on a personal note, that, you know, I really do think a lot of people appreciate you being as vocal as you are. But, you know, I think taking that role on can also bring a lot of stress and just toxicity into your own life. And I hope you know too that like it's also okay to step back sometimes.
Yeah, I do. I think well these past couple weeks I haven't, because I found myself getting consumed by it because I just didn't know what was going to happen. We were getting so close to like watershed moments where I was just like, fuck, man. Like I remember I was just watching the Electoral College count. Just because I just wanted to see it. I just wanted to see that it was happening. Even if they objected, I knew that they couldn't do anything, and I knew Pence wasn't going to overturn it. So I was watching it for like closure, and I was like, oh, that's going to be the end. I won't have to hate him anymore.
Right.
Because he'll be gone.
Right.
And everyone else will deal with him, you know, like prosecutors and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, it's over. And then I see like this split screen of the people storming the Capitol. Yeah. And I'm like, no.
Bro.
I remember I ran upstairs and I came in here and I was just like, Tasha, they're storming the Capitol. And she's like on a meeting with like all these like head designers and shit. And I'm like, they're storming the Capitol. And she's like, what? And I'm like, no, they're really doing it. And she's like, okay, I'll come down in a minute. And I'm like, no, like they're really doing the thing that we said he was going to do. And then I was like, I'm never going to get to escape hating Donald Trump.
No,
I want to. I want to be free.
Oh, dude. And I want that for all of us. But I guess all I'm saying is I just want, none of us will be free from hating him, but you can be free for being that avatar sometimes.
Yeah. So the thing is, only twice have I ever felt like it was my responsibility to share information and comment. During the Seattle protests, I was trying to spread information that could keep people safe.
Yeah.
And also highlight to my fans that cops were brutalizing people. And so don't get swept into the narratives that Facebook likes to push.
Yep.
And then once again, with the election stuff, I wanted to make sure everyone stayed informed on the truth. And there was a lot of misinformation that I wonder now how normalized misinformation is going to be.
It's you can't put it back in the bag, man. I mean, there's so many, we don't have the tools to combat it, you know?
No, we don't. And that is going to be community driven.
Yep.
Which is why it's important to interface with your community.
Okay, so wait, let me make a bridge here. Yes, it's important to interface with your community. It's the pandemic. None of us have been doing that in the way we usually did.
Right, yeah.
But you were talking to me about virtual reality.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So I tweeted. Okay, so basically, my friend Robbie Descender got a virtual reality headset, and I got jealous. And I had only experienced PSVR, which is fine, but it's not the thing. It's not cyberpunk as shit.
Yeah.
And by cyberpunk, let me go on a tangent. By cyberpunk, I do not mean the Western version of cyberpunk that is very boring Ready Player One bullshit. I'm talking about Ghost in the Shell. I want to go there. I want to go like, get me in the Matrix. Let me live an Alita Battle Angel life. I want to be cybernetic. Basically, I was like, I've always been interested in the idea of technology augmenting reality in the ways of perception, right? Because if we know that already this keyboard doesn't look like a keyboard to anybody but humans, like we perceive things, our mind just makes it up.
Sure.
Yeah, things don't look like we think they look.
Well, yeah, I mean, reality is an agreed upon delusion,
yes.
Right?
Right. So here's where I'm going to go full wook. So basically, when he got that VR headset, he was like, oh man, the resolution's better. And this, like the second gen VR is a huge leap from first gen VR. Yeah. And PC VR is a huge leap from PSVR. I was like, okay. So I got the Rift S, which isn't that good. It's just like cheap and available. So I grabbed it. And then we found VR Chat, which is like the second life of PC VR applications, and went in there. And at first, like the first week that I was in there, I was like, okay, this is like meme Second Life chat rooms, cringy. Yeah. And then I started finding like worlds within it that are like a little more off the beaten path and a little more off the beaten path, until Varian introduced me to a couple of people who are like really into VR, like essentially real life cyberpunks in my eyes. And they like exist in VR.
Yeah, like they they put in a shift.
Well, it's not just that they spend time, it's that they treat it as if it is a visceral real thing.
Yeah.
And that to me is exciting. because I love the idea of infinite real space. And treating it real, like giving it credence.
Yeah.
So then I start hanging out with these people, and then we meet another group of people through Two-Tone Disco, who has this cool club in VR called like Shelter. And he shows me this club. It's fucking crazy. And we start hanging out around there, and I'm finding these people that are completely comfortable and at home in virtual reality, where when they move, it's realistic, like with or without full body tracking. And I go, holy shit, this is a real place. Like this is a place that I can go and have experiences during the pandemic.
Right.
And so for the past probably 2 weeks, Descender and I and a few other friends have been just world hopping, just like going in, seeing what's going on, like hanging out with people, meeting people. And then like when I come out of it, I take off the headset and I'm like ready to go to bed or whatever. Like this is after the end of my day. So from like 7 to 10, like 3 hours a day, probably, we go in there and we like play pool, play darts, go bowling, like go swimming, hang out in a mansion. Like, but it's so crazy because when you treat it as if it is a place worthy of like respect, it doesn't feel like a game.
Sure. Right.
And that is so interesting to me, not just for like my career. Like clearly I could go, oh, I just want to do shows in VR, normie shit. Which, like, of course I do. That sounds fun. Like listening to music in VR is actually awesome.
Right.
And the clubbing experience in VR is extremely awesome. In fact, you, Willy, should come and join us sometime.
Dude, I'd be down. I was about to ask you, have you talked to Crisley about this? Because
I texted him.
He's been big in VR shit. He's been like, I
Someone
think
told me that.
Yeah, he DJs a VR club. And I think he just goes in there the same as you to hang out with friends now.
I love Chris.
Yeah, I
would love to hang out with him in VR.
Yeah, and he's
anywhere.
Anywhere, man. He's such a sweet guy. But yeah, he's been like an evangelist for it. So it's cool to hear you're getting into it as well, man. Because we all need that, man. We need, I'll take it for my reductionist example. I just played through Cyberpunk 2077 in December. And, you know, it's like you can make all kinds of valid critiques about the game. But one thing about it, I will say, is that it's very pretty and very expansive. And I would find myself for literal hours just walking around and looking at virtual spaces, and I did not expect that to happen. It was like therapy almost. Like it
feels therapeutic. Yeah.
After
and
a
I
while,
have places I would love to show you.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm super down.
Well, I haven't played Cyberpunk 2077. It's definitely not my thing, but I will say Night City looks great.
Right. Yeah, it's very pretty.
It looks great.
It's very pretty. It's expansive. It feels like a real place.
I love that. And I have found a similar, I guess the one thing that I will mention that I think really is the reason I'm so excited is that VR chat and virtual space in general, the good shit, it's all DIY.
Yep. And I love that
DIY.
too.
And so whenever you go into a space, you really get a look at who made it.
Dude, which is, okay, so this ties back into everything we've been talking about, right? Is the artists who embody what they're about, right? And the music that moves you is the same as the virtual space that moves you. It's when you can feel the personality behind it. It's
the fact that intent is so powerful, which is why words matter.
Yes. 100%.
It all ties together. Intent is the word of the day. And I think intent is the most powerful force we have when we are all isolated and all of our thoughts and actions and everything are taking place on what is essentially virtual reality, aka the internet.
Yeah.
So it's proof that intent travels far beyond physicality and that you should be intentional with your words and actions and intentional with your music. Yes. And intentional with your getting coffee on your nose.
Dude, before we get out of here, I want to awkwardly chunk us onto another topic because I can't let you leave before we talk about D&D a little bit.
I knew you were going to go there.
I mean, I
would love to talk about D&D. Here's something cool. I started a Patreon because there's no shows and your boy likes to have money. And I'm really bad at it because I'm really bad at like giving people anything. But the one thing I do every week is that there's a tier of my Patreon that plays D&D with me.
Right.
And I DM it. And my players are amazing. They're so good, dude.
Yeah.
They're like, I lucked out. I was so concerned that I was going to get a batch of people who didn't really care.
Or like didn't know anything. Are they first timers?
Well, first of all, first timers is easy. It's exciting to realize I loved being new to everything about D&D.
Sure.
Because, and I'm still new, like in the grand scheme.
Yeah, you've been playing just a few years, right?
Yeah, just a few years, but like good DMs are like 20-year veterans.
Yes.
So it's like I'm learning how to DM by like playing with players who were more experienced DMs than me.
Right.
So, and that's been super useful because I know all these rules that I forget.
Yeah, me too.
It's been great.
No, I've been very lucky with my group because there's several excellent DMs in that group.
But it makes you feel confident that someone is there to catch you when you fuck up.
So, okay, we're getting inside baseball here. Like, what's the elevator pitch for people listening right now who haven't played Dungeons and Dragons? What's the elevator pitch to get them to start playing?
Do you miss... Here, I'm going to do it like an ad, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you miss playing games on the playground with your best friends when you were 8 and had no responsibilities in the world? Well, might I introduce you to Dungeons and Dragons, where you and a group of 4 to 6 friends can tell stories collaboratively over the internet with no fear of being judged, because you're all in it looking silly together. Roll dice to determine whether you jump the chasm. Roll dice to determine whether you slay the dragon. You can cast spells on your own dick with Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I think you really like brought books? It home with that last part. Yeah.
D&D is, in my opinion, the best way to flex your music brain without writing music.
Yes, 100%.
It is literally Kegels for your fucking brain.
Yep. Yeah, there's something about the act of, because you are creating something. It is
on the spot every second.
Yeah, all the time. And you know, there's a certain art to it. There's a certain, you have to have a perspective, you have to have a style, all of that. You have to be consistent. And
I think if you do it right, again, intent. And even if you're using the pre-written, right? So like right here, I have Rime of the Frost Maiden, right? One of the newer adventures. Look at all my goddamn notes.
Now. Yeah.
That's my style. Each one of these Post-it notes is indicative of the same thing I would do in a remix. It's intentional choices that are going to affect the quote unquote listener or the player. And the coolest thing about it is that whereas music is something you sit down and enjoy, D&D is something a lot like people love Dark Souls because you can feel the intent in that game, right?
Yeah.
But it's an experience. You get to interface with it. It's the same with D&D. Your players get to shape their experiences within your framework.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's collaboration too, right? That's, that's coming...
That's DM perspective.
Sure, of course. But even as a player, I mean, you're player, DM, whatever, you're all coming together to create something you couldn't have created on your own.
No, and my greatest joy is watching people like devise these schemes on the fly of like how to deal with the situations I've put in front of them. And I love watching that because it's the same thing I get a tickle of whenever I watch like a Noisia in the studio video.
It's inspirational too, right? In the same way that watching Noisia in the studio have an idea they want to execute, not know how to do it, figure out their way there. Maybe they do something cool in the process that was unexpected. It's the exact same, it's inspirational.
And luck is cool too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dude, let's talk about fun. Luck for music production.
Get in VR and we'll talk about it. I'll come to my office.
Yeah.
Dude,
which only exists in VR.
I found somebody ripped. Have you ever played Final Fantasy VII?
Yes.
Okay. Somebody ripped from the remake of Final Fantasy VII, the Shinra office building.
Oh, nice.
And specifically the conference room. So I think I'm going to start having like all of my press interviews and meetings inside of the conference room.
That would be so good, man. If you could force people into that space, God,
I think I've just decided that it's more fun. I think 2021 and 2022 are going to be the crux of me being impossible to work with, making people do all kinds of outlandish shit, because I think I've built up the precedent to do it. I think that people will have to put up with my shit at this point.
Oh, I think so. I think you've firmly established that, people have to meet you on your level. You know what I mean?
I have my own record label posting Anal Angel to promote my music.
Yeah, at that point, that tells you something.
I'm really happy about that because, as you know, with me, I really do like it when people meet me on my level.
Yeah.
Because I just don't function well on any other level. That's the truth. It's more of an inability on my part.
Yeah, but it works for you though, man, because I think when people do meet you there, it's rewarding for them too, you know?
It's fun. It's fun to be this way.
And it's fun to do something different and to approach music differently as a consumer, as a fan, as a listener. I think it's fun to have those other experiences too. It doesn't all have to be on the same playing field.
You certainly laugh a lot more.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think like we could all use a laugh, right?
Man.
You want to remember here, if we're getting towards the end here, I just want to leave you with this thought.
Okay, I'm ready.
This happened in real life, and I still haven't wrapped my head around the fact that it happened in real life. Rudy Giuliani sat in a courtroom and sweated profusely until his hair dye ran down his sideburns and dripped down his face, and nobody stopped him. And then a week later, he farted twice audibly in court. So I think there's a lot to laugh about.
Oh, I mean, well, and you just scratched the surface. We could do a whole nother podcast about everything to laugh about.
I imagine people having to write like a retrospective of history and just be like, oh my God.
Oh man.
Because it all happens so fast. We lump it into like one thing, like, oh, overturning the election. No, let's talk about everything that was.
Oh, I mean, I've thought about that, man. The documentaries and the novels that are going to be written about this time period, it's going to be amazing.
It's really funny.
Once we have some distance from it and are able to look back, oh man.
It's so fun. It's a comedy of errors, like to which the likes of humanity has never seen.
Oh, I mean, if somebody presented what has happened over the last year to you in the form of a movie script, you'd be like, oh no, there's no way. This is too absurd. Nobody would believe this could happen.
Is this a fucking, who's the guy that did like Best in Show?
Oh yeah, Christopher Guest.
Yeah.
It is. It's a mockumentary.
Levy running for president.
Yeah. It's a mockumentary, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We're living in a mockumentary.
Well, I think the truth of that is there's always something to find not serious.
Yes.
Don't be a bummer.
Yeah. I think
everything might suck, and it does. It sucks so bad. Everything sucks, but it's funny too.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
just like
maybe
music sucks, but it's funny too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, that's kind of why we stick around, I think, is that duality again.
Thank you for having me, Willy.
Hey, I love you, buddy. Thank you for coming back.
Man. This is always a blast.
Great to talk to you, man.
Great to talk to you too, man.
Okay.
Chat soon.
Peace, man. Bye. All right, that's the show. Shout out to Must Die. Great to have you on again, man. Look, I think we decided. I think it's official. Every 100 episodes, you got to come back on the show. But you're also welcome before that, too, if you feel like it. Anytime, man. It's an open door for you. For everybody out there listening, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Don't forget, Must Die, his new remix for Company, Feel It All. It's out right now. And if you go to the description, the info notes on this episode, you're going to find a link where you can go follow Must Die. guy. Keep up to date with everything he's doing and just generally hit him up. You can hit me up as well at Willy Joy or at back-to-back-pod on all social media. back-to-back-pod@gmail.com is the email address. And you're also going to find a link in that description to come join the Back-to-Back Discord. I'm in there every single day. If you want to talk to me, that's the best way to do it. And if you're a music producer, if you make art, you can come share it. We've got a section where you can post what you're working on, get feedback, meet some like-minded people, and just generally be a part of a cool group. That's really what we're doing. We're just talking about our life. We're talking about music. We're posting memes. Come and hang out with us. That's it for this week. Another episode down. Working our way through January 2021. I'm still feeling a little renewed. I'm still having fun over here. I hope you're having fun out there, wherever you're at. I'm sending out some good thoughts to you. I hope you're happy. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're staying safe and taking care of yourself and protecting the people you care about. Look, we're not through it yet. Wear your mask, wash your hands, stay away from people. We got to keep doing it, and let's take care of each other. Let's be good to each other. And that's what I'm hoping for you this week. A lot of great episodes coming up. A lot that I'm trying to set up right now that I'm excited about. Fingers crossed that they happen and I can give them to you guys. But regardless, it's going to be a fun year. I love you guys. Thank you for all the support. I will talk to you next week. For Back to Back, this is Willy Joy. Peace.